NBC Sports Group coverage of the Stanley Cup Final continues tomorrow night, and Doc Emmerich will be on the call, and Doc joins us now. How's the voice, Doc?
Great. I'm resting it up, but it's just outstanding. It's inspired by what I get to watch. It's just magnificent.
I was worried for you with the voice, just the first period of game one and then the last minute or so of game two. You got to pace yourself, Doc. And if this goes 7, I'm worried about that voice.
Thank you. I appreciate your concern, and there have been some of my own. This has been one of those springs where I've had to go to the roids a little bit.
Whoa.
Sometimes we do strain a little bit, and so that means that I can reach out and maybe pull an outside pitch down the third base line with a little extra power now.
So what we've learned so far is Doc Emmerich is on performance-enhancing drugs. Doc, I don't know if you can be suspended, but I'm glad that you've got out in front of this. Doc Emmerich is on steroids.
Can you imagine how I could balloon up if I did this all year long? Wow.
Okay, what is your official height and weight, Doc?
It goes at 5'7", 166. It probably should be 160, but right now it's 166.
Well, you want to put on some pounds for the postseason.
If you want. Yeah, I got to take some off. You're absolutely right.
How do you explain what?
For elbowing under the basket, and we do have a practice court.
Ooh.
And in D.C. And T.J. Oshie has a really nice outside shot. He and a couple guys go down, and last year they were playing horse. That old outside game that you used to do trick shots?
Yeah.
And now they just practice outside shots around the three-point circle. And TJ's got a really nice shot. I go down and watch them every once in a while. They do that just as some guys play soccer before games, and the Caps have that court nearby that is used by the Mystics and Wizards, and it's pretty decent.
How is your shot?
Awful. I learned, unfortunately, in the archaic days, because I'm archaic, to shoot foul shots like Ollie did in Hoosiers underhand. We've talked about this before. And so I think you've granted me at least 5 free throws underhand sometime in the future.
Yes.
At a date to be determined.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there will be a tremendous viewer decline, so we have to wait until you're actually doing shows that don't matter. And I don't think that ever happens.
What were your expectations going into this series? And after 2 games, did they live up to those expectations?
Expectations were that it would be heavy forecheck on the part of the Vegas Knights. That would mean, for those of you who watch basketball, that would be like a full court press the entire game. And that's kind of the way it's happened with both teams. Both teams have been able to apply it. I didn't expect that as much. And I sure didn't expect straight-ahead hockey for all 60 minutes and the kind of nail-biting hockey that would send somebody to steroids. But it's been wonderful hockey, and I'm anticipating that we're going to have at least 6 games of it. It's just thrilling to watch, and it may not be the best analogy, but I thought last game out loud that it's like being one of those nails inside a pinball machine where it's happening so quickly around you that it's mind-boggling, and I think that's the way it's been for the players, too. Barry Trotz, the coach of the Capitals, told us that one of the replays that he showed the team from the first game was where there were 5 quick puck possession changes, and there were 5 different players flat on the ice at the same time. It was that wacky. And that's kind of the way this has gone. But it sure is fun to watch. I doubt that the coaches like it because they like to see things more under control. But it's just been wonderful to watch.
He's Doc Emmerich, the NHL play-by-play voice, or NBC, tomorrow night at 8 Eastern. Series now shifting to Washington, D.C. What do you do in between periods?
Usually wind up chatting with Eddie Olczyk and learning lots more things about horses and hockey. We'll talk over things that we've seen, and he'll also talk over such interesting items as I did ask him what, because we were in Las Vegas, what percentage of the crowd that he thought might have some interest in the game beyond just fans, and he thought over half.
What do you think of gambling with the NHL, Doc?
I don't. Well, with the NHL, I defer to the commissioner who said that it was too early to have any kind of opinion on it, because you have to kind of let the smoke clear and see how it's going to sort out. With the NHL, that I guess is the opinion that I have. I don't really get the full grasp of it because I'm not a gambler and I haven't studied it well enough to have an opinion. I am concerned when I read some articles, as I did today, about how it might have effect on secondary schools and the athletes who play in secondary schools. And I did see an article to that effect today. I don't know how widespread this is going to become, and I just am concerned how it might affect the athletes.
I know that your job is play-by-play of telling us what you're seeing, but can you try to get ahead of yourself with Holtby's save? You know, you're calling it in real time, but is there part of you that you're anticipating something, or can that take you into an area that's dangerous as a play-by-play man?
It probably can take you to dangerous area, but by the same token, one of the things that you draw on is 45 years of doing this and having seen other saves that are similar. You know, Tim Thomas made a stop in the Tampa Bay-Boston series that spurred Boston on to win that and go on to the championship round. Here we are in the second game of a Stanley Cup final. Frank Pietrangelo made a stop on Peter Stastny in a series between Pittsburgh and New Jersey, and all of these things that you rifle through time and you think, is this going to be one that's going to be gone back to? I think the ultimate one for me was the one that Marc-Andre Fleury made in the last second and a half of Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final that prevented Detroit from taking the game into overtime and maybe winning it at home, and maybe Pittsburgh doesn't get a championship in 2009. So those are all things that flash through your mind. But after a save like that, if they win the game, if then Vegas doesn't pull the goaltender and tie the game up, if they win the game, then that's when it starts to sink in that this might be something that would cause momentum to shift. But the coach of Washington, Barry Trotz, has been very careful to say every game is a reset. Don't rush to judgment about things like this. But that's what coaches say. Broadcasters have a little more flexibility, and that thing is going to be very big to overcome, but it could happen as soon as Game 3 of Vegas wins.
With the possibility of another expansion team in Seattle, with the success of Vegas, can you see any modifications of building another expansion team based off of Vegas having this much success?
Well, Vegas paid $500 million, and so the price is going to go up, and the expectation that a team is going to have for that price is the same set of rules, at least for their expansion draft. The pressure that team is going to have is they're going to have to make as good a decisions as Vegas did. And that is going to be ultimate pressure. And there's going to be pressure on existing teams. There are 12 teams, including Washington, out of the 31 that have never won a Stanley Cup before. There are 4 teams that have never been to a Stanley Cup final before, and they've been in business a long time. You imagine how the people in St. Louis feel. Sorry to mention them, but the last time they were was when Bobby Orr flew through the air in 1970. That was the last time their team got to a final.
Wow. And
they haven't won a championship. So there's a certain amount of envy of what's going on in Vegas right now. But it's all a fantastic thing that has just snowballed and gone on because of the excellence of the players. And that's the main thing that we always try to keep in mind, that it's not certainly about us, but it's about a glorious story that's been written there. And maybe they'll win, maybe they won't, but it won't change the ultimate fact that they've had a wonderful year for their first year out.
Doc, I was going to keep you 10 minutes at the most, and it's 10 minutes and 15 seconds. So I want to be a man of my word, and I want you to be able to relax. I want you to go back to your steroids, and I want you to have a great day off.
Oh, thank you. I'll look forward to practicing my foul shots in Washington, and one of these days I'll get to see you on the court.
I love that. Thank you, Doc. That's the great Doc Emmerich, NHL play-by-play voice. You can tell that voice that's postseason form there.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.